everyone has something to share, in either wisdom, story, or logic. And it's clearly amazing to hear all the differing missing links discovered by people, unique to their own journeys, and in how they have come to discover them. Together, we can help to build a bigger picture for a better future, for a brighter tomorrow. Let's stand united. Let's remove the veils, and let's create a new world together. Are you that missing link? Join Jesse Hale on the Missing Link Talk Show as he helps to unveil the mystery through the unique wisdom and story of others. Only on Real Revolution Radio.
Welcome everybody back to the Missing Link. Here we have the pleasure of having both second-time guests. We had Rick Jewers for the first time, telling us a little bit about him, telling us about gpms.world, and then we had, a segue to it, Lee Mudway. He well told us a little bit about himself and more about the GPMS world. So welcome to the Missing Link, brothers. How are you guys today?
Thank you, Jesse. I'm terrific.
I'm very well. Always great.
Awesome. Good to see. So why don't you guys each start off, telling us a little bit about yourself. Maybe we can start off with Lee, and then we'll get into, Rick and, the information that he wants to present.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. Nice and straightforward. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Basically, went through something, woke up in 3 or 4 years ago, energetically, if you want to call it that. And at this time right now, aligned with Freedom Instrument to move humanity forwards through this, what I would class as fake reality. Let's keep it nice and straightforward and simple.
Sounds good. And how about you, Rick?
I have done this publicly in the past, but I'm going to put it out more now. About 2,000 years ago, I was who was known as Jesus, as Christ. And having said this, in this now, I'm to be known as Rick, which I am. And with this, and there's a very important reason why I'm saying this, because it is connected directly to GPMS and the divine plan, what we are doing for humanity. So I will be making more of a proclamation, if you will, on this in the future as well. And this is a great place to start with that. And the reason I need to say that, because it is very serious what is occurring. And of course, to the Christian community, not only those that is over 2 billion, but also when you look at the ones that believe in God, if you will, worldwide, that figure is up to 5 billion. So when you look at that, what I wish to say, yes, God is very real. Everything you've been taught as a Christian, for the most part, on how the end times would be in the new beginnings, it is true. Of course, many of you know what was written in the Bibles has been manipulated to some degree. However, the fundamental truths are there. The guidance for this time is there. And this is time for none of you to doubt anything. Everything that is occurring upon the planet is a divine orchestration for a very important divine reason. And you can simply look at it as the rapture, if you will, uplifting humanity out of the darkness. And having said this, at this very time, you can see the credibility, what's left of governments, is very quickly imploding. And there is a divine reason for this as well. And with all of the old system and the laws and their legal system is not compatible with divinity. And of course, many in the churches, you have seen, you weren't allowed to gather, weren't allowed to pray. Well, very quickly, that is not of God, and anyone knows that. In such a time, all of God's children should be gathering together, and if governments were truly of of God, you know, they'd say, everyone go and pray, but the governments are not. And there was a definite evil, and the remnants of that is left here now. What we are contending with as we raise humanity out of that. Now, I've been endowed, if you will, and bestowed with also other abilities that, let's say, could go beyond the human comprehension as a co-creator in this reality, but also as a creator. And this all began in 2011. And 2012, linear time, was a very important point that set off 7 years of revelation, which was the exposing the actual darkness and all of the evidence and documentation to identify exactly what and who it was and where it resided. So, having said that, you know, we are in the most glorious times, and I know what is happening as well as many. You know, we have the awakened community, if you will, that knows that something very special is occurring, and of course, we have those that do not know. But the message is, it's all very real. Everything is fine with it, but also on an individual level, all of the children of God, if you will, all of you that believe, you must unite and stand together. And we have the new template for humanity here, for the structure of the society. And that is GPMS, which delivers all of humanity up into the most harmonious heaven on earth, if you will, as part of what's occurring.
So when you say that, you were here 2,000 years ago as Jesus, so is that something that because there's the Akashic records, you are able to tap into the Akashic records and get the kind of memories that's come from there? Or because I've heard from a lot of different people that, they believe that they're Jesus over their years, and it's something that, because we're all sons and daughters of God, when we aspire to be, and there's some people that live their life to try to be like Jesus, there's some people that I've met that feel that they were Jesus. So, is this something that you've known all along, or how did this come about, for you to have these thought process?
Well, in my case, it's not a thought process and wishful thinking. It is actually real. I'm in constant communication with Creator. Now, as for others claiming they are Jesus or what have you, that is true because there is that spark of God which is in every human soul. And that's perfectly okay if there's 4 million Jesuses upon the planet. That is perfectly fine. And I am here to do my role uh, divinely from the guidance of Father and the collaboration with that. So I do not diminish any other because they are speaking their truth as well. They are an aspect of all that Creator is. And I don't wish to diminish that. However, what I do wish is for all of them to stand up as well in this great time so we uplift all of humanity.
There's also people out there that have or claim they have the bloodlines of Jesus, and that they're actually direct blood lineage of, the Mary Magdalene and the Jesus bloodline, where they believe that they are like, the next heirs or should be the true heirs to the throne, and that the people that are sitting at the thrones right now, the kings and the queens have like, they're hunting them down. They're hunting down the Jesus bloodline, and they're trying to take, these people out. What's your thoughts on the bloodlines that come directly from that lineage?
Well, my thoughts and my knowing on this is that yes, there are many. There is over 4 million descendants of that lineage upon the planet. And as everything is written, Christ did not die. Mary Magdalene plays a very important role. There were, let's say, several children at least with that. So it's all very true, and that lineage carried on, and there are many upon the planet. However, it is not so much as relevant to that lineage. What is important for each to be their self in this now with their knowing what their divine mission is upon the planet to facilitate that, to take humanity forward. So it's great for them to know their identity to the extent that they do. And again, it takes the unity with this. It's not just one. So, I say, yes, I was Jesus before. Uh, I am Rick now, but we all come here, and I did not come alone. There's all of us. There's so many of it. It's you, Jesse, it's Lee, it's so many more for this time. And again, this is not our first time upon the planet, if you will. But this mission, this time, it's been prophesized, it's been written in scripture, it's been written somehow through all beliefs and religions. And we are here now, we are in it. And so this is what's occurring.
Now, in the scriptures, that the powers that be that seem to have twisted everything, light is dark and dark is light and good is bad and bad is good and all this twisted stuff that they've put out there. Some people believe that even in the scriptures it says that Jesus was the light bearer, that Jesus was actually Lucifer, and they've twisted things to actually make people believe that Jesus, that Lucifer was the bad one when it's actually Satan was the bad one and not actually Lucifer, because Lucifer was the light bearer, which they say Jesus in the book says, I am the light bearer.
There's many concoctions out there and manipulations. I just like to keep it straight and simple. Let's say there was one leader of the darkness, which was Satan. That is gone. Lucifer, as far as I'm concerned, was each in the same as Satan, was not of the light.
Okay, so that's kind of wanted to get on that, and thank you for sharing that information. So maybe do you guys want to talk a little bit more about the GPMS world, what it is, and what people can do to help support the movement that's transpiring right now.
Yeah. Okay. So, as I mentioned before, what is occurring is a divine orchestrated thing upon the planet with everything that everyone has incurred for the last 2 years. It's all a setup for the new reality. That's why everything's been divinely orchestrated to expose the truth to the people, because it's important for the people to make a choice, because what we have is many co-creators, many human souls upon the planet that contribute to reality. So to keep it simple, for these souls at different parts of their process, to keep it simple, we offer the GPMS, the divine plan, as a choice to make it as simple as possible. But I also, with that, I need to say that there is a urgency with it for ones to make their choice. As they see the old collapsing, they need to know that they have more than a real hope, that the real reality is here, and it's very achievable. Do you wish to add, Lee?
GPMS. Well, when we look at what's going on in reality, or whatever's going on outside, everything doesn't make sense, or nothing makes sense, or no thing makes sense. It's all illogical. I don't know if we touched on this before, Jesse, about anti-Christos logic or anti-logos, illogic, satanic thoughts, illogical thoughts versus purity and transparency. So we can see through all of the things that are going on in the real world, if you want to call it that none of it makes any sense, and it's all full of lies. Now, it's how far you put through those lies to see through the lies, or how much you accept them. So as this is progressing and as humanity is not choosing as it stands, they're just in the main abiding, going along with it for whatever need they have at the moment. It's all falling down around them. What's going to happen? Sooner or later, everybody's going to have to stand up and make a choice. They're going to have to make a decision. And this is what's being shown. It doesn't matter. Everybody can say, no, it's not. No, it won't happen. It will. It's coming. It's inevitable. Whereby the pressure that's being put on humanity, the oppression and the suppression of the truth, the censorship, the totalitarian dictatorships, are just ongoing. And they're getting more and more and more. And it's not letting up. So at what point does humanity then stand up and say, no more, or we're going to ask some questions? As this is moving forward, we've got a lot of light workers and light warriors and truthers and all sorts of different individuals that are speaking different areas to lift that whole game up. And very few solutions, except the ones that are offered to us through the systems as they are, Nizara, the RVs, and the GCRs. Well, what we're going through is a period of lies and a period of fraud and a period of malevolence and non-transparency. And what are we looking forward to? Another period like that? Do we know what Jizara and Nizara are? Do we know what the RV is? Do we know what the GCR is? Are they telling any truth? Or are we waiting for that savior thing again? So what we've got with the GPMS is a completely pure and transparent instrument for humanity to choose to move forward with the absolute truth, with the absolute transparency and absolute control of their own destinies, if you wanted to, as a collective experience moving forward. Not one country here or one country there. We're not aimed at that. We're not aimed at a government structure. We're aimed at the whole of the community, the human experience, to actually say we want something different. We'd actually like to be free and abundant and live that way without any of the controls and live a sovereign lifestyle. Sovereign, the etymology meaning above authority. So even when we're going back to what you were saying a little bit earlier about these old bloodlines coming through and they want the throne, what they want to rule, I'm not sure that was what the Christed mind wanted to do over the rest of the population, was to rule them. So why would the bloodline think that they're in position to sit in the throne? So these sort of questions pop into my head, and I'm always considerate of equality and parity and balance and transparency and purity. So who would want to have authority over another? What does that lead to? Does it lead back into the old systems and the old looping mechanisms, etc., etc.? So what we've got is GPMS, a nice little instrument, and a beautiful instrument, divine instrument, to say, look, here you go, make your own choice, it's yours. There is no rules inside of it. It's completely organic for humanity to decide exactly what they want. But it does guarantee freedom. It does guarantee absolute abundance. And it has got a simplified divine law, which takes all of the complexity out of these lies and these fraudulent structures and puts it back to a simple form that just says thrive rather than survive. I'll leave it at that for now.
So I signed up, to it after, you guys telling me about it before. Now, how does that, help to benefit me, and how will that, how will I be able to utilize GPMS to benefit my situation?
Well, moving forward, benefits you by being your energetic voice is in there, your sovereignty is in there. You've already proclaimed that through the GPMS instrument. As more and more individuals and more start to talk about it and collect through to it, then we get to the point where it becomes viral and becomes it becomes inception. At that point, all stress and all poverty, all tax and all of these things are gone. New structures are created. All that we're looking for at the moment is anybody that does sign up, does consent, not sign up, there's no signatures required, that does consent, actually shares the idea of this freedom, shares the idea of this choice, talks to others and brings them on board. What we're finding at the moment is it seems that, in my mind, humanity is that devalued. None of us believe we're worth freedom or abundance. Somebody's got to give it to us. No, we can take it. So it's this idea of valuing yourself and putting the worth back in and saying, you know what, just because I've been told this is life, can I choose a different way? So it's that sort of concept. So it's bringing that sovereignty from the inside out. It's knowing that there is something much, much better and a freer instrument just coming around the corner once we all get on board and actually living that. But that's from the internal belief outside. So it's all about inner stuff and knowing what's coming as opposed to hoping or believing somebody's going to help us when we've got all the answers ourselves.
So now, if you have 100,000 people that, today, listen to this and just went and gave their consent, how does that look for putting food on their table, or paying their electric bill, or things that are still in the old world paradigm that are putting pressure on people to do things, to work in their slave jobs or do these things in order to just survive.
What I'd wish to say with this, the whole reason why this is occurring, and of course the last 2 years upon the planet, it's all about the control and the dependency upon the control that the few had, and the dependency upon their creation, their money. So having said this, if 100,000 are to sign and share this, let's say they have 100 friends, boom, it's done quickly to create the voice. By one's just signing, it doesn't put money on your table in the instant. What is occurring here is, with all of the ones agreeing, supporting to create the one voice, it takes the ownership of all of the system, all of the financial infrastructure to distribute funds, and the instant ability to create money out of thin air, the same way that the banks and governments were doing it all along. But it's this control that has to be broke, and it's divinely assured with the last 2 years that that control that the governments and banks had upon people is broken, and it's done through the GPMS. But it's not brought to inception until the voice is big enough that it's realized and accepted and supported around the world. Then this does it when the government's money and their laws is no longer supported. Then it implodes. It does not exist. So everyone has a choice to choose what they have with the governments and those laws now, or unite, which is the majority of the human souls, about 6 billion around the planet, and support the new voice, the new reality. Then it gets done instantly. And I wish to say again, if the governments and the banks were in humanity's best interest, they could do what we're doing with GPMS in 2 days. And what these governments and banks could have done was instantly wiped out poverty. So it's all about the control. But this is putting the control of the entire infrastructure and new system in the people's hands, where they don't, it's no politics, it's no political or government structure, it's entire community working together with all of the good things and good intentions in mind. So it's divinely set up these last 2 years to prepare ones for this new reality.
Yeah, to add on to that, Jesse, it doesn't. I mean, if you're trying to draw something from that we're creating into the now, then it's not here yet. So the consenting doesn't change what reality is at this moment in time, but the non-consenting maintains the reality. So it's the thought process, it's the choice to see something new coming forward, which brings the hope. There's not hope in my mind. It's a guarantee. It's inevitable. But that new change, then you've consented to something that you know is going to come. Now you just get on with your life as best you can inside this false shell. As this moves forward, and of course, as you're spreading that word, then more and more get involved. 100,000 leads very, very quickly to a lot more. But again, we're looking to others to speak to GPMS with us too, and spread this. It's not just us. So we're getting nothing out of it. We're not in this for any control or power or authority over anybody or recognition. It's purely that it's the right thing to do moving forward. But one of the things I will say, just to quickly get into it, is what GPMS offers ever so quickly is an upfront, it's $12,000-ish to every individual, man, woman, and child across this plane, and then $6,000 a month. And that's only to put some small control in it at the beginning. So that the human experience doesn't stagnate. This is guaranteed. This is just something that, boom, $6,000 a month and $12,000 up front. And if you need a house or a car, then that's developed. and given to you by your own administrations, not one world government. We're not creating any more power structure. This is all about administrations that work for the people, by the people, if you want to use those old constitutional terms. But the people choose wherever they are. The societies and the cultures choose their own administrations to administer to their needs. Nothing governmental exists anymore. All of the financial systems don't exist. The economies, the wealth, the disparity, the poverty, the lack, the profit and loss, and all of these systems. Are they beneficial? Are they benevolent? Or do they just create infighting and competition? Do we want competition and infighting moving forward to keep that looping structure, or would we like to have a little think about changing that? Can we change life that far? Yes. Are we being forced to change it? Yes. You're seeing down the end of a gun if you want to look at what's going on outside. There you go. You're going to do exactly what we say, and who's telling you what to do? Is it you? Is it your choice, or are you just following the rules? Would you want to follow those rules, or would you want to create your own? Should you be able to create your own if you're a sovereign with no authority above you telling you what to do? All of these little things come in, but of course it's all for individuals to think about as they either consent or don't at this point. But sooner or later they're going to choose. So why not now?
So now, the idea is fantastic. I'm all 100% on board, but the implementation of it is, something I still can't, connect the dots, because, it's going up against this like 6,000-year-old death cult, that have been controlling the banking, the finances. They've stolen all the gold. They keep squeezing everybody. They keep squeezing all the finances. Their control of all of the money. So where does the $12,000 and the $6,000 a month come from when they're not so easily going to just want to hand over all of this wealth, whether or not you've got 100 million people or even 1 billion people that consent to GPMS?
If I may, we don't need their wealth. We don't need their money. And this is what needs to be very clear. The way we create the money is with the unity of the people, and we choose to create it. We don't need gold. We don't need anything outside of the unity. The unity alone creates the money of all of those that choose. Then we keep a responsible discipline upon it, incrementally just putting the funding into the reality, so humanity keeps advancing forward. It don't matter if the bankers are the evil ones. If they have $1 gazillion, we create to infinity. So you don't need their money. You don't need their gold. All you need is for everyone to choose to unite and just create the new system that creates them right out of reality.
The gold and the money is only backed by the people. We're the ones that believe it's got value because they tell us it has. Okay, so keep it. We've got value here. The value is all on the inside. The value is the eternal value of the soul. That's where the value is. It's the human energy. It's not the money. It's not the paper. It's not the product. It's not the material backing. It's the infinite value that the soul has, and that's what we create. So with unity, we all agree that we've got infinite value because we all see each other as sparks of the divine, however you want to see it. Namaste. We all look at each other as equal, and therefore we have equal value, not parity, not disparity because you didn't work hard enough or you haven't done this and that, all that blame, shame, and all that rubbish. So we just create, well, like Rick says, we just create that out of existence by choosing a different way, and that's from the inside out. We don't need a material backing our wealth, how much we're worth. How many gold bars have you got today? I've got more than you. It's meaningless. All of this is meaningless. So the 12,000, 6,000 funding doesn't come from a material backed something. It comes from the agreement of humanity to create that infinite amount of funding. And if it's infinite for one, it's infinite for all. And that's the only bit on it is the control at the beginning to stop it being infinite initially. But it will unlimit to an unlimited amount each as we move forward, as humanity works its way through this transition.
So how does it, come to be that the person can attain this $12,000 and then be able to utilize it to be able to provide for their family?
If I may, here's how it occurs. Again, I wish to go back and just let people know how money is created in this day. It's created with someone, let's say, at the head of the financial system, just with their fingers typing money into an account. So when you realize that if humanity takes the rightful ownership of all of this infrastructure, then very quickly one can just go and put this money into everyone's account equally, and then it is dispersed outward. That's how quick money is created. You don't need any financial backing. All you need is the agreement and the support that, yeah, we're just going to create it out of thin air just because we can. And we don't need to. But what needs to occur is the rightful ownership of the entire infrastructure upon the planet has to be taken by humanity as a majority to do this. And when I say rightful ownership, everything upon the planet, everyone contributed to it somehow. So this means they are a shareholder. So they are a rightful holder to everything that was ever built upon the planet. Everyone contributed to it. So that cannot be disputed. All you're doing is changing the ownership from a few that made it look like they own everything and placing that owner's rightful ownership into all of humanity where everything can be shared equally. I may not have answered your question, but
it's all right. I'll continue. Once we get a voice, bearing in mind that there's the unity voice, then starts to bring in experts and starts to bring in other individuals and more influential individuals, if you wanted to see it that way, which carries more of a voice and more of a weight because they connect to more and more. At this point, there's an uprising or an unrest within the collective as a billion, five, however many, are looking for a different choice. At this point, there is no government left. There is no financial structures left. Whatever's left there is a shadow of what it may have been, whatever the media is telling you. Should the media remain? I mean, that's up for debate at this point in time too, how quick media drops. So all of these structures are being shown to us as fraudulent. The banking structure was developed through the obfuscation of the credit being us. So they stole our credit and made us into debtors. There is no debt. There never was any debt in the financial structures, yet the governments purport that there's debts and that people owe it. People don't owe anything. They do. So anything that purports to a debt wipe is lying. It's not telling you the truth because there wasn't a debt in the first place. And of course, all of the solutions that we face purport to a debt wipe. Nizara Jizara, let's wipe the debt. What debt? There never was a debt. RVs and GCRs call for a debt wipe. They call for a government, another authority structure above us. That's not going to happen. As humanity wakes up to the lies, their estates have been stolen, their lives have been stolen, they've been poisoned, indoctrinated, oppressed and suppressed at every given turn by every single system that was stolen from humanity. As they wake up to that, they're going to start to choose something different. How did this happen and how did that happen? Well, as that education comes in, that can come in afterwards. But they're being shown it all. So this moves forward then, that voice, that collective voice is inevitably the energy that contains and the power it contains just changes the whole structure as the ones within the structure are removed. We don't need to destroy any structures. We just need to change the guardianship and the stewardship of those structures as others step in. Those others will be stepping in as this voice is created because they'll be aligned. And then these systems start to work for everybody. So we're not talking about a massive change of everything's got to change. No, it hasn't. It's just got to be utilized differently. And of course, GPMS will then fully fund every benevolent structure. Every system that needs funding will be funded. There will be no taxation and all of these things are out of the window. So no cost to supply, no cost to sell, no wage bills because everybody's paid anyway. And all of these things start to unfold as the systems start to work benevolently towards humanity because humanity chose them to.
Again, I love the whole premise of it. It makes complete sense to me, but implementing it is still kind of foggy for me. So how many people does it take in order to get the system up line and on track? Would it take 1 billion people? And I get all of a sudden, if 1 billion people consented, now I get these 12,000 divine dollars. How do I go somewhere to it has to be someone that's in the system to be able to spend those divine dollars that I was getting, because if everybody's not in agreement, then not all businesses would accept this type of form of payment. And so now you're only looking to be in a system of the people that are in agreement, and then that's how the system comes to about. The more people that are actually starting to barter or use these GPMS dollars, is that how this thing works?
No, not really. Um, Again, I like to say something though before I mention how it works, and I am so grateful, Jesse, that you were able to have this interview with us, because there is that sense of urgency what is out there. So to prevent a lot of chaos in the world, and as we know, there is a lot of aggression out there, and before things get out of hands with the growing amounts of the protesters in the crowds, they need to know that there is this reality. This is what it's all about. So they're not fighting against the governments. They need to unite. This is the simple, quickest, less chaotic solution. And this is why we need to get this word out worldwide with it. Now, you're saying about the dollars. What occurs is that there is the one world currency that is owned by the people, which is whatever you wish to call it. But it's created at the time that we have all of the majority of humanity on board that takes ownership of the system. Now, all of your shop holders, everyone is going to choose to be a part of GPMS. So that is not a problem whatsoever. Everyone will choose this. When you look at GPMS, it's the all humane inclusive plan, and no one would go against it unless if they were evil. But if they do go against billions of people, it's not going to go anywhere. So that is why, I say, and Lee says, and many more, that it's imminent and it's inevitable. So it's the one accepted money worldwide, but it's the people that owns the money. So this is different than the NWO agenda. The only way to prevent that NWO agenda is to take control of the entire infrastructure upon the planet. If humanity doesn't do that, then yeah, they would succumb to even further enslavement. However, divinely, everything's been set up to foil the NWO agenda and put the actual New World Order as all of the people. So the tables have been flipped on that. And with this, because of the old system, there is the transitioning system of existing wealth into a GPMS dollar, if you will. All of this legitimate money and wealth is honored into the system. And what they're going to find as it's honored into the new monetary system, they're going to have lots of money, because money is only going to be used as a tool to transition humanity further where they don't require money at all. However, to alleviate chaos and the stress, all existing money that is legitimate and from, the existing good wealth is just transition added into the pot. But you have an infinite pot. So Perhaps you could elaborate a little bit more on that, Lee. I got to step out and use the washroom for a moment.
Sounds
One
good.
of the one of the steps that I see, Jesse, is the failure of the existing structure. So where you're looking at that, where there's a disparity between how do we go from there to there? Who's going to accept this new money in the old system? I don't see the old system remaining. Parts of it may still kick and scream a little bit, but they're not. There is no old system at this point in time. So as we're looking at, well, what I'm looking at is the events in reality and what's going on out of there. How many government structures will remain? How many positions of power will remain? How many of these malevolent structures, the GMOs, the pharmaceutical systems, the indoctrination education systems, the health systems, which aren't, are going to be remaining once the people realize what they've been utilized for? So where will we be spending our money, and where will the disparity be between who will accept it and who won't? By this time, everybody is aware, it's undeniable to certain areas of the truth in what was. So we're going through a process now of transitioning through lies into a certain amount of truth for the human collective. I see a lot of the collective still holding on to the lies because it's safer that way and it's easier to survive with the lies. But as these lies become more and more open and can't be held on to more and more, then these structures start to be seen through, and then everything starts to change. At that time, we've got this inception point where there's the new choice for freedom and transparency as opposed to the old one of obfuscation and malevolence. Now, I appreciate that there is a how does that work? And to be honest with you, I haven't got a script. I just know it will. So there is this sort of level in me that just says it has to, because that's the only way it can be. There is a certain degree of faith in there, but having a look at everything is aligning toward that's got to be true, and let humanity run it. This is the beauty of it. Let's see, because the old system wasn't working. The old system was very benign and very malevolent. Well, let's see. Let's not worry about how we're going to implement the new transparent, pure, and beautiful heaven on earth. Let's just have a go. And I know that the right people in the right places and everything else is divinely coordinated to bring that to fruition, so that this becomes a less chaotic transition for humanity as they release that primal fear and that primal anger going through this into the new.
So the way that my brain works is that I figure out every possibility to every situation, and I connect things, and things have to make sense. And one thing that came to me as we're talking here is I believe that this can become tangible by putting it onto the blockchain and making it into a crypto and getting people to actually start putting dollars from the old system into this system. And not only will now this thing become tangible and actually not just be an idea that people have to adopt to get themselves out of the programming, out of the old system, but now people can actually put, money from the old system into this system in order to fund it for the people.
No, one of the reasons why that won't work, where are you going to put that money? You're going to put it on the internet. Who owns the internet? Who controls it?
Yeah, obviously but in the blockchain, it's what that technology that they've put out there, it's not controlled by any one entity. It's an entity that's all dispersed, and depending on who's putting it, like it's kind of protected. So I'm just trying to figure out how to make this become tangible, because like I said, the idea is great, but in order to get 7 billion people believing that they wanted to put their consent and their energy into this, it has to be a tangible way that they can put food on their table, not just if I sign up, maybe one day I'll be able to help myself, but this way they could actually, hey, if I put $10 in here and watch that $10 in a month grow to 100 or to 1,000, and now that movement behind, there's actual force behind the movement where people can see something tangible instead of just the idea that so many people people are trapped in right now, and getting people out of that box that they've been programmed and indoctrinated in without some kind of physical, road is really tough for people because they're so programmed and they're so stuck right now.
Yeah, I would say there's a couple of things about blockchain. Yeah, you're right in as much as it's connected to a lot of different systems, but then it can also be switched off. Gone. And it's also, the second one is, people could put $10 into a blockchain, but how inclusive is that? And who does that cater to? Is that necessary for a future system that's open? No, it's not. It's exclusive to those that can. It's exclusive to those that are connected to it. It doesn't incorporate the whole worldwide populace as one. There's lots that couldn't put it in there. What are they going to do? So again, it's with the GPMS system itself. It's not about taking anything from the old. It's about starting the new completely free from the old. Whether it uses a blockchain technology going forward is a different matter. That's up to the experts at the time of inception. But I would personally, I don't see any way that you can bring in an old system and say, just pay in a little bit of that to start some funding towards this inception of GPMS, because this is a pure instrument. It doesn't need any of that for it to ignite. What it needs is the faith and trust in the human populace as a whole, that they are worthy of complete abundance and freedom from this slave system. And that's what takes it forward. So I get what you're saying, Jesse, as much as making it tangible and making it logical, and rationalizing how this can work moving forwards. But it can't take that old system. It can't take exclusivity. It can't make for an uneven playing field at the initial interim, whereby some can pay in and some can't. Some get more and some get less. It can never be that, because it talks about equality and parity and all of those good things.
But if you pull the wealth out of the old system, they could actually fund this whole system by people's consent, and anybody that consented could get 12,000 coins. And all of a sudden now you're starting to get 6,000 coins. Like, you can actually take this idea and make it happen through their technologies. Like, you could instantly start and make this, instead of trying to get enough people in one day, have enough to make this actually happen. You could actually start it and make this thing tangible and make this thing start to become popular. And people will start, hey, we can get 12,000 coins by, going into this new system. And then it could teach people about what this system was.
If I may, humanity doesn't have time. We are at such a critical point with this, where even today, ones are being deprived, if they don't get vaccinated, from going and getting food. So the whole humanity is at such a risk right now. They don't have time to do any of this. The most sensible, logical, efficient, and quickest way is for the people to unite worldwide and get everything done with one fell swoop. Humanity does not have time. All of the rights are being jeopardized as well. So you just don't have time for this. And again, you need to see what's important is the control of the systems. They made humanity dependent upon the monetary systems, upon the internet, and what have you. And if they still maintain control over that, they maintain control over humanity. So the only sure way is to get humanity to all stand together again to create this voice. And having said that, it is not difficult at all once again that ones can reasonably understand it. And what I said with the huge protests, all we need is at the leaders of these protests, when they're speaking, let all of the people know to unite, and you don't need to fight. Yes, you can keep up a block against what you're doing now with the governments for the sake of the others, but there's more than enough awake that right at this moment, if we had everyone that was awake to take a half hour or an hour and agree to support this together around the planet, in very few short days, we could have this whole new reality for them. that there is not time for any transitory things. There's been many goodwill ventures out there that the same thing. They've always been thwarted or stopped. And take your cryptos. They're all because it's the ownership of the infrastructure of the system. So you have both. You have the monetary system, but you have what they call the legal, lawful system, which is not law. The people are the law.
They're taking anything out of the old structures to try to fund or finance this just doesn't work relatively, because this is a unified statement, GPMS. Taking a section out to be funded for those that got on board early doors doesn't work, because that's not inclusive. It's also not a unified approach. It's an idea to start to coerce people into an idea that's their freedom. If you look at it from that sort of aspect, if we start to take some out of there and give it to those ones to try to get more to start to join, well, that's kind of coercive in that aspect. Look, you can get this if you come in. No, it's got to be a unified choice, and therefore the unified administration then decides as a whole what we're going to do with it all as it comes to inception. So again, it starts to get bitty if you start to break it down and make it into tangible parts. This seeing through what's going on right at this point and seeing the inevitable outcome of this. Without GPMS, without a system like GPMS, what's going to happen? What then? What, we all stay in the old system, or Jazara comes in and loops back to the old system, the RV comes in and loops back to the old system, the oppression's still there and loops back to the old, the truth doesn't come out, loops back to the, it's seeing past all of these other solutions and seeing that they're not really solutions. They just loop, or they maintain a level of comfort that is satisfactory for now. I use the word starving animals as a collective because humanity basically is. And in my mind, are we going to accept the bone or scraps from the table as a solution because it feeds us for this minute, and not worry about future generations and not worry about transparency and not ask too many questions because this benefits me now? Is that the way this is going? I don't believe that. So I believe humanity is being forced into a corner as a collective to choose something that's completely new and a whole new paradigm. And I'm not going to say go back to a sovereignty, but walk into a sovereignty, but on an equal level for the whole of humanity.
But how do you put the system in place without using their internet? How do you put the system in place that everybody is connected? Because right now we are connected, and Lee, you're in England, and Rick, you're in the Netherlands, and I'm in Canada, and we're connected right now using their internet, using their system, using these things. How can the GPS run without using their system? Because everybody's connected right now with their system.
No, we can't. The GPMS works by taking their system and putting it into the hands of the people that should be using their system, because it's not their system, it's our system. They've just got stewardship of it, or they call themselves owners of it. Well, what have they used it for? Has it been used benevolently or malevolently? Have they enriched themselves at the expense of the masses? Have they obfuscated the truth? Have they lied? Have they indoctrinated? Have they done all sorts of different things to humanity to poison and kill and intellectually starve and oppress at their own benefit through the systems that humanity uses every day? And we say they own it. No, they don't. They control it at the expense of the masses. If everybody stopped using their systems, then what? They wouldn't have a system. So there is a necessity for the system, but the system is only controlled by these people that say they've got shares in it. Well, who's got the real shares? Humanity has. So when these actually face justice for their part in whatever's happened, I'm not going to go into too much detail about what's been going on. There will be no owners left of these systems, because all they did was they took a malevolent intent and used it against the people by telling the people that it was benevolent. Yes, we enjoy it, but look what it's cost us. Why can't we enjoy it and it doesn't cost us as a collective? Why can't we enjoy it and it be benevolent to the collective? So it's that transfer of guardianship or stewardship. I don't like to use the word ownership, but it's that transference of these systems to humanity, because humanity chooses to use them for humanity, not for these few that decided to use them against humanity. And it's the quicker that we unite to that point and say, listen, guys, this is a whole planet full of divine beings, and you're telling us we're not. No. Yes, we are. Come on, boys and girls.
So I agree 100%, but again, You could say the same thing about the blockchain, and then, about using the blockchain, because this actually gives it something tangible that people could actually start to support, instead of just an idea, which, as Rick said, there's not a lot of time left. There's not a lot of time left, there needs to be a system in place to get people to need to put in their energy and their consent into the GPMS system. And just by having an idea with no actually real system in place where people can actually put their energy or put their currency or take their currency away from the old system, putting it into the GPS system, it's a hard sell for people. I'm just telling you realistically here. If there's an actual system in place, like if you created a blockchain crypto and said, okay, this is the GPS system, we're going to take it back, we're going to take currency out of the old system, we're going to fund it here so we can fund all these projects, and this is how we're going to do it. You could get people in a quick amount of time. These cryptos go from 8 billion% increase because they've been pulling money out of the system, and then it actually gives you something tangible instead of just an idea and hopes you get enough people in time before everything gets destroyed here.
We'll get enough people. And I don't disagree with you, Jesse. I'll just come back to the point that it's not about using an old technology to coerce people into believing something that they should believe anyway. This isn't about believing something because you can see it's making you some money on screen or those sort of things in my mind. It's about a complete change of the paradigm for people moving forward, and not putting it into any old technology, because that's something that we would have agreed to now, and that limits the future of it. No. Let's let the people decide how they want to create their own wealth moving forward, as opposed to us say, well, if we do this now, it gives you something tangible now to join quickly. They're going to join anyway. It's just when, in my mind.
But how are you going to get it to the masses without a mass adoption of something that's tangible?
Getting to the masses is what we've been struggling with. It's been a little bit of a blockage. It's been because we don't get talked to by lots and lots of other truthers who seem to be making quite a few dollars off their truth for the moment. So they're not going to talk about this. They like to talk about other things like Jazara and Nizara and these simple things which perpetuate the comfort that people are feeling at this point in time. Sooner or later, that's not going to be the case, and we prefer it to be sooner. That we start to unite, the light starts to unite together to start to give a unified truth to everybody. All of the structures fall back down again. Or even Bitcoin and the blockchain principle is great. It showed proof of concept that a second currency could be created within the original structure, which gives then GPMS another, if you wanted to look back at, well, how can you do that against the old system? Which blockchain did. So it just is proof of concept. So all of these things work forward. Is blockchain the way forward for GPMS? Not sure. Depends what the quantum system brings in. Should it bring in a new system? That may be utilized, but we're not even worried about quantum because we can do everything through the existing SWIFT system. So we don't need blockchain. We could just use the existing SWIFT system once we take ownership of or guardianship of the existing banking structures, financial systems, which have stolen the wealth of humanity over and over and over again, and then oppressed humanity through what's called debt, which is a complete lie. These systems are not going to remain. They can't remain once humanity realizes that their wealth has been stolen from them. So there is this level of truth and level of transparency which shifts humanity forward as well, which we haven't quite seen yet come out in the fake reality. But we know, we've done the research, we know what lies are out there, we know what we will and won't accept going forward. You know what you will and won't accept going forward, Jess. You know you don't want any more authority above you. You know you want complete freedom and abundance. You know you don't want to ever have to worry about money or anything else that should be given you by your divine birthright. You know that. Well, so do many other millions and billions on this plane. They know it in their hearts. They just might not believe that they're worthy of it, and that life is a hard slog, and life is born, work, taxed, die. We know that's not the case. We all do. So it's just choosing that now.
So when we first had Rick on, talking about the GPMS, I had some people talk to me about different things. And one thing is that they said is, about, just replacing one system with another. It's a financial system, giving people 12,000, giving them 6,000 a month. When, like you said, people there shouldn't be a scorecard. People should just be able to freely go about their business and be able to do things without, having to say, okay, I've got to pay 2,000 of these GPMS dollars for it. It's just, again, replacing one system with another system that's financially tied, where things should be quantum and free, and you should be able to move about your business and be able to do whatever you want without having a scorecard telling you how much you can and can't do that month.
Yeah, one of the beautiful things, and this was a thought process I went through a long time ago, money is evil, money is the root of all evil, and all these old concepts. How do you remove money from society? And I know that they talked about this moneyless or this cashless society that the New World Order's spoken about. But really, if you're looking at it benevolently, how do you remove this evil from society? Can you take it off people? No, they'll cling to it. So the only way you can really do it is by a free will choice from humanity that they don't need it anymore. Well, how do you get humanity to agree not to use money anymore? And in my mind, the only way I could see it was if we create, or if it's created to be, an unlimited money supply for every single individual human soul on this plane, then inevitably that would transition to, well, we don't need it anymore. And it would be a free will choice from humanity. So the new system isn't about replacing the financial system with another monetary system. What it's about is unlimiting that system so that humanity then works through this process of from a small control being 12 and 6,000 per month to an unlimited amount per individual to choosing, we don't need it anymore. So it's taking that system and completely flipping it upside down and giving the human collective the choice as to how long to use money once it starts to become unlimited as we transition through that first process of going from starvation to abundance.
So go ahead.
If I may, we have an approximate figure of 12,000 US dollar equivalent. That's what every man, woman, and child receives upon the planet at the same time of inception. What this $12,000 is to put everyone in an instant, immediate place of full comfort. If they need food, whatever they may need, that money is given instantly that puts them there into that place of comfort. Now, at the same time that this 12,000 is given to every man, woman, and child, at the same time, all of the essential goods and services in the entire society, planet-wise, are also funded with unlimited money as well to assure that everyone has all of the essential food and needs what they need. So currently, upon inception, immediately, it's not only every person, it's the entire society, the entire, what is the word? The essential goods and services are instantly as well. So what this does, it eliminates the immediate stress level, puts everyone in a place of comfort, in a breathing space. There is nothing ever to worry about money again or having any lack. It does everyone upon the planet. If you look at going with the crypto, you got many let's say poor places in Africa that don't even have internet. This does nothing for these children that are starving and dying every day. So with this, there is whatever needs to be done with volunteers very quickly into Africa, assuring all of these children have food and everything that they need. Now, the reason why we say 6,000 approximately, these are only figurative numbers, just something to work with. But the reason why we say $6,000 the next month is because we have the rapid deflation, because everyone is paid. You just wiped out the entire payroll and how that is calculated into the price index. So no longer are you going to have inflation, you're having rapid deflation. If you still need gas for the vehicle, you go to a gas station. This is actually free because we fund all of these essential goods and services. So therefore, you'll find you don't need all of this money because instantly many things are free. Your health services, whatever is essential. But the reason why we use the money again is for the transitional period from the old into the new. So
Yeah.
the dynamics of it is actually simple, and it works perfect, and it puts everyone in a place of comfort. So we have $12,000. Then also anyone with a home that needs a home, any family, and a vehicle, which puts them in a place of comfort, which is over and above that relative $12,000 figure. What we're doing is advancing instantly humanity forward out of this savage society you have today. And why settle for a transitional period or a bone when you can have the whole cake? And that is very true now. But divinely, all of humanity is pressured, and they're being pressured more and more because this divine choice has to happen to advance humanity into the harmonious state. Again, if you look at the rapture or what have you, this is what it is. This is what we're doing. And we're doing it while in the organic vessels without getting too deep into some other things.
But
One,
are you
one
giving,
interesting.
are you giving people the 12,000 in like physical coins? Are you giving 12,000 paper dollars to people? Are you giving 12,000 crypto coins to people? Do they get to log on to your website and they can log into their bank account that shows them that they've got the money? Like, I'm not understanding how you're wanting to implement a system. Like I said, the ideas are great, but I don't have an understanding of how you can actually make this work.
We use the existing system, what's already there. Everyone, for the most part, has got a credit card and a bank account. The problem is just the ownership of that system. Everything is already in place. You don't need anything new. The only thing new you need is the control and put the people there typing in the money. I got to step out. I know Lee wants to answer this. This is how simple it is to make, to bring instant prosperity to everyone upon the planet. This could be done in 2 days.
The interesting aspect of it, Jesse, is I'm not 100% sure myself, brother, on how it's all going to work, because it's an organic collective creation. It's not going to be log on to GPMS and we're going to give you anything, because this isn't it's not mine to give. It's not GPMS's to give. It's what the people want and how they choose to receive it. So I'm looking forward to this creation. I'm looking forward to how it's going to go, because as we start to collect the answers and the solutions and the pieces of this puzzle, with the ones that start to join as they see it's inevitable, and they feel in their heart, they know that it's the way forward. We're in an apocalyptic timeline where the truth is revealed. It doesn't matter where you look there, and I'm not in the slightest bit religious with all of this stuff, but it's written everywhere, the time that we're in, and we're going to go into a golden age. We're going to go into the age of whatever you want to see, the age of Aquarius, however it's written. So the interesting aspect is how many people can't see it. How can that be? We can't get there. How do I get to that point? Well, it's already written. It's already divinely on course, and the apocalypse is happening. We know what we can see outside. We know the truth has been revealed to the masses. So I'm not going to limit my options as to how this could be. It's certainly not for GPMS to hand out this money. The money is not ours to hand out. It's yours to claim. It's your money. How do you want it? It's a much better way of looking at it, because this is a collective decision. And the ones that have the answers about what is the best way and the most benevolent way and the most constructive way to develop this system across the plane haven't started to speak to us yet. But we know they're there. And when they do, then we're going to find that solution, and humanity is going to agree to whatever's most benevolent and beneficial for them through their own choice. It's difficult to. I agree with you. If you're looking at the steps, that can be a little bit awkward to find, and how you put them into words, I don't know. I just know.
But the blockchain is a tangible way to do it, and it's not coercing people. It's if people decide I want to put $100 toward GPMS because I believe it, and you get a billion people to put $100, you got $100 billion that just was initial way to help start funding this whole operation. Because the people that are in control of the money right now, they've got armies that are protecting them. They've got police forces that are keeping the people in control to their control. And for them to just give up this control, it doesn't matter if 100 million or a billion people, or 5 billion people, they want this. With the people and the current power structures that are in place, unless they get eliminated, and taken out, which, seems to be, almost what the only option is, because they're not just going to hand it over. We've controlled for 6,000 years or however long that they've controlled this. Death cult has been in control of this place. They're just because the people want it. This doesn't mean they're going to give up their power and control without something actually happening, whether or not people transfer all of their current system of money into this new system. I'm taking it out of these scumbags and I'm going to put it into GPS. I'm going to start with $100 or $1,000 and I'm going to start pulling my money out, and funding this is something where now people can actually have power and do something about this nefarious system that we're all been sucked into.
There's an interesting parallel, which is what's going on with the ancient funding and the other asset-backed funds that have been off ledger, running alongside this same thing, whereby there's trillions and quadrillions and godzillions of ancient funds that have not been put into the fiat currency system that are being released or should be being released for beneficial projects, etc., etc. But that doesn't cover the comfort of the people. I'm not disagreeing with you, Jess. I'm just saying that at this point, taking money out and putting it somewhere else to fund GPMS isn't going to happen because it's not a collective decision. The voice isn't there. It's an option. Should that come forward and be discussed on a bigger level? But at this point, it's not something that I'm not looking at that. And I do see where you're coming from with it. So it's a very valid point to make it more tangible and not seeing the progression in the outside and how do we take down these malevolent structures? Well, how much malevolence is left? Who do we see? What are the talking heads? How many of them are there? What are they waiting for? What's the military seem to be waiting for without taking these down? Why do they still seem to have a little bit of power? Is it for the people to say no more? When the people stand up and say no more, then what about these darker structures that may still be left? And I don't believe they are. Are they just carrying out are they just the flapping tail of the dead duck that's just purporting itself to remain in charge? I don't see much of this structure left out there that's got any power at all. I just see that there's a belief that it's there. And as that belief dwindles and changes to a belief in the self, things may change more significantly on that front.
The darkness that I see is them people still getting injected with these poisons everywhere, people dropping all over. There is this darkness that's still in control because people are still being injected with poisons every day, and they're injecting children with it now. So you can wish all you want that these dark forces and structures aren't here anymore and that they're not doing these things, but every single man, woman, and child that gets injected with their demon juice shows that that's not true, that there is still a dark force that is in control of this paradigm currently right now that we need to stop.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and we need to stop it.
Indeed, and it's got to be stopped now, and that's what we're doing. So let's look at actually the control. Who's making these decisions? If you look at approximately maybe 230 countries in the world, with each one with 1 or 2 or 3 leaders, well, when you do the quick math on that, that's about 750 individuals. And what are they supported by? A couple doctors or or so if you do the actual math on who's making the decisions, the top ones, there's only about 1,000 now. And if you look at the billions of people that are awake, it's a no contest. So very quickly with the people as well, when the people's law is activated by the people, it is now, but when it's fully activated, all of these are just removed from their position. But where things are expediting at any moment, you are going to see this actual a couple heads of governments just removed by the people. So this is also, we're not part of that, but it's part of the divine plan, because it's divinely assured that the darkness does get removed to make the transition as peaceful as possible. That's why we need to tell the people and the protesters, here's GPMS. We know how to do it. We can implement it instantly within a couple of days. I could do it now if, let's say, I was in place in the world financial system to tap in to it. Let's say if there was no more darkness, just put me there now. We got society functioning so happily, beyond anything ever. But as you're saying, yeah, that darkness is there. And it is a battle, a spiritual battle going on. And, part of this, ever since 2012, I've been empowering many and assisting them up into realizing their co-creational powers and to be ready for this time. And many are. And it is inevitable.
I'd just like to answer Patricia. It's not written yet because the actual answers and solutions are with humanity. For us to write anything down that made it more complex than simple at this point is limiting what it can be and what the freedoms are. The freedoms chosen by the human collective as one. I know that sounds oversimplistic, but if you actually sit with that, then you'll realize that this is an inclusive instrument. It's not about my perspective or Rick's or one or three or four or others. It's about the whole coming together. So this is why there's no specifics, there's no dead definitions, because all the answers are in the collective at this point. Those will come together as this comes to inception. And Jess, I'm with you, brother. Yes, I see all of the darkness, I see all of the dark tactics, and I see the deceit and the deception and the malevolence of it all. I'm still amazed that so many are falling for it. But something divinely is happening along that path whereby this is occurring still. I look at a lot of it as not wishing it away because it's destructive to this human experience. But that destruction will become constructive as humanity stands up. I've got to have some faith. Otherwise, I've just got to sit here and watch it. So there's that faith and that belief that something else is bigger than this, bigger than I know, is occurring at the same time as this.
So Patricia, which is a good friend of ours, she's got some comments. It was GPMS. Sorry, she missed the definition. What's the definition of GPMS?
Global People's Monetary System. It's only a name. It's a foundational name that will be changed as the people choose whatever system they want to move forward with.
She says, how do the people, as if humanity could agree on anything, take control back of the internet and about these systems that are controlled by these malevolent beings?
Can I just jump off track slightly and say I've got to go, guys?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
These last few questions, Rick, they're good, they're great. Is that okay? I've got to run in about an hour and a half this evening.
Awesome. You take care, brother. Thank you for sharing, your time with us. And we're trying to make this happen. Like, we're trying to get away from this old, psychotic, chaotic, parasitic system that seems to be feeding off of everybody. And we're looking for something. So when humanity, does take down the system and storm the castle or whatever it is, what's done, and then the new system has to be in place, GPMS offers that system to be able to take over what that existing nightmare is and actually have it run by the people for the people and give it back to the people.
With full transparency and purity. That's what I will say. It might sound vague, but it's not. Full transparency and purity. My love to you all. Thank you very much, Jesse. It's been a pleasure. We'll speak soon.
Bless you, brother.
So,
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Okay, Rick.
Yeah.
So maybe you can answer. So how does the people who she says humanity, as if they can grant anything, take control of the internet back from these parasites?
Well, what I'd like to say, Patricia, you said humanity could not agree on anything. Well, under the current circumstances where they're getting pressured more and more, they are going, it's divinely orchestrated that they will unite and agree as a whole. So this is what's being divinely coordinated to occur. So having said this, once you have this incredible voice upon the planet of several billion, and with what it represents, hello, Femke,
Hi, Femke.
with what GPMS and what it represents, it is the ultimate solution for all of humanity to put them into the full places of bliss, if you will. So at that time, once we have the voice collected, no one can really stand against it, and very quickly it goes viral with it. So having said this, I don't put any obstacles in the future because they're not there. All of the doors get blown down very quickly. Once, see, you also need to consider that this is a great awakening, an expansion of consciousness and an upliftment. And with that, comes the higher consciousness thinking as well. And with everything that is done towards the truth, it keeps creating a higher consciousness shift. And not only does the consciousness shift occur, it is also the miraculous healing abilities, the empathic abilities, the psychological, parapsychological abilities. So what is actually occurring at the same time is many that are awakening, they are becoming what you could call superhuman as well, because there is an evolution that is going on internally within each. And the simplest is many are becoming more sensitive as empaths, because that is energetics. So the way all creation works, there is really no obstacles. What it is getting everyone aligned in the way to see this, to create the voice.
Okay, so I'm going to go through a few comments that she made because it all leads up to her question. So first one is, so I just went through items 1 to 15 of the plan, which concludes with this. The above articles are a general set of guidelines, and a more inclusive plan and guidelines is already known that is simplistic, that is not written yet. It says, all of the mechanics of implementation and operating the new system are also in existence.
Yes.
So then her question, not written yet, question mark, why not? Also, I'd like to see all of the mechanics of implementation and operating the new system, please. And Lee kind of saw that comment and kind of started with, giving an answer to that. But I just wanted to know what's your thoughts on what she's saying here.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so Patricia, if you could bring that up again, Lee, or Jesse, thank you. So what you have there in quotation marks, all of the mechanics of implementation and operating the system, they're already here. So you're asking, you wish to see them? As I said, it's the financial system and all of the logistics of it in the infrastructure. This is the mechanics of it. And it's only implemented the same way that the old system, that money is put into it. So it's already here for operating the new system. It just needs to be the ownership by the people taken of that. And when you say all of the details not written yet, because what occurs, you don't need them all written to the degree that it is so simple. For the most part, they are the guidelines and it can remain that simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. However, it is left that it's simple because what you have when you create the voice, you're having a huge think tank that there may be some other great ideas that can be added in there that only empowers it further. So we do not wish to restrict anything with that. And we also understand that in the awakened voice, the awakened community, and the huge voice, that there may be other ideas, and we don't wish to diminish this. The main thing is to have the guidelines to take everyone there, and along the way is only the answers and the solutions. There are no obstacles with that.
Okay, and then her next comment here is, who is the author of those statements above on the website? Is it you two, you and Lee are the authors of the website and creators of the entire proposed system?
Let's say for the most part, for the system, that was given to I with collaboration from, I shouldn't say in collaboration, it was given from Father directly. As I said, that through Father, it was time, Rick, he said, to write this up, which I did back in July the other year, what have you. So most of the guidelines have been written by I. However, over the evolution of the organic evolution of the website over the last year, there has been some others that assisted with some of the written material. Yes.
Okay, she says it doesn't sound simplistic, it sounds more vague. And then her next comment is, people have been creating monetary systems with random physical objects deemed by them to have value for centuries. Why does this turn out any different? Ever seen The Gods Must Be Crazy? Hashtag Coke bottle.
Well, we actually answered this before, Patricia. So what we said is the creation of money is the intrinsic value of each other's self. You don't need any outside material asset backing. We are, as the creators, co-creators, we are the backing of it, and we can choose to what limits we wish to create money. We can create individually money, if you will, to infinity, but a to keep a regulation on it, meaning regulate it so that everyone just doesn't stop, and society shuts down. You need to keep essential goods and services going for all of the human society. So this is why it's incrementally the funding. So you're being prudent and responsible with it. It is being done in a disciplined way with the transition, and that's why it is done this way. So incrementally, the funds are released, and the truth is, you create money to infinity. It's all about the control. See, in realistic, it's not. It's about the control and the shift of that, and putting the power for the first time upon the planet in the people's hands.
So her next comment here is a good point. So And how do the people obtain ownership instead of the world controlling sociopaths that are currently in control? And then my add-on to that is, once this GPMS comes and everything is an open system, what stops it from these power hungry, people from trying to put their hooks and take control of the system, which they've been doing for century after century? There's been, for some reason, there's people that, have this thirst for either blood or thirst for control over others. What stops them from, taking control, or at least trying to either sabotage it, stop it, or take control of it?
Well, again, it's the ownership. People take the entire ownership of the infrastructure upon the planet, and with this, during this time, what is occurring is all of the bad guys, if you will, are already identified. So any of the threats to the new system are imploding as we speak through their actions. So you can add the divine element in here, that we are past the judgment days, meaning that everyone uh, of the darkness has already judged theirself. They're already identified. They are not part of this new system. This new system is divine, and it's not jeopardized from anything of the past. So the whole process with the last couple years was to identify and clean up and clean out any of that darkness, so it is not into the new system. So everything is divinely assured on more than one level. And also with the new system, the way it operates, it is not a capitalistic or a commerce or a profit society. That is wiped out. For anyone, there's no reason to uh, profit or have lots of money when you have everything. That's why the initial 12,000 to put everyone in a place of comfort instantly. Know the simple plan of what it is. Just use money as a good tool to advance humanity forward. So it all works out. And once everyone, just agrees to wanting this, it is so simple. You don't need to complicate things. The old system, what you're in now, the old matrix, that was complicated to control people. So you don't need these complicated, stringent, restrictive systems. And again, GPMS is the full freedom, unrestricted system. However, you do have that one regulate one regulator in it, so that it doesn't get out of control. And you're creating worldwide community, harmonious community with this.
And this is something that I've been, looking and trying to figure out for 30 plus years. So it kind of comes into alignment of everything that I've been working so hard to try to open people's minds and hearts about what's been going on, because I feel this place is supposed to be, and I've seen it, a utopia where people flow freely instead of being restricted and controlled and poisoned. And I've seen it. And so that's why I know it's not how it's supposed to be here. This isn't divinely planned. This was never supposed to be like this. It was taken control by some really dark entities that have been controlling it for too long. And one thing that I love about you, Rick, is, that, and most people don't talk about the divine power and the divine source and the angels and things that are around helping and assisting, and people seem to forget about that aspect of of our existence here. People, they say they believe in God, but then they don't believe in the angels that are protecting us around, or they don't see them or feel them or don't connect with them. They don't talk to them, and you have that divine connection, which I really like that, because I see humanity has really forgotten that divine connection in a majority. I've met lots of people that are connected, that talk to source, that are there, that can close their eyes and see the little fairies floating around and things like that, but most people can't see it and refuse to believe it, which in turn is kind of why we are in the situation that we're in, is because people were turned off from source and creation.
Indeed, and you mentioned the angelics, which is very real, and I do work with those as well. The archangels and the angels, and there are instructions, I will say, yes, that are put out to them. But we also have the galactic component, and you've seen it reflected in certain pictures of Mother Mary and what have you through the course of the years. And also you'll see some of the paintings and what are hanging even in churches with little spacecraft, UFOs. This is all very real. And when Jesus went up to Mount Hermon, as some of you may remember in the scriptures, he did not only consult with angelics, it was also the galactics at that time, which was overseeing and assisting. Back then, not so much. Now, more than ever. So yes, it's important not to exclude these, because they're very real and very important. And, having said this, everything is divinely assured upon the planet. And there are many of us here, you included, Jesse, and also Patricia. And she says, by Father, her question meaning directly from God. Yes, straight from God. But what I will say is that there is father and mother aspect of that. For most of my divine mission upon the planet, I identify straight with Father with this, but I do also collaborate and connect with the mother aspect when necessary.
So is that because there's lots of people that are saying God as she, and so because God is father and mother, and so whether if they're connecting more with the mother, the feminine side of God, or then you're connecting more with the masculine side of God, is that why there's lots of people that are saying God is female and God is she, and they're adamant about that aspect of God?
One way that I wish to say, one of the analogies in belief, we have gender upon the planet, and there's very important reasons why there is the gender, the masculine and the feminine. And that also goes back, if you will, how will I say this? It depends, on with what aspect of creator that one identifies with. But it is both, to keep it simple. It is.
Next comment she has here is the divine and monetary systems have nothing to do with each other, in her opinion.
That's your opinion.
Okay, and here, no man can serve two masters, for either he will hate on one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and mammon. Matthew 6:24.
Okay, but look, who wrote that? That was written by man. So what I would do with that one, and I looked at it a few months ago, that should be taken out because it's distorted and manipulated the way that it is written. And you need, Patricia, what you need to look at is that there was an actual darkness upon the planet that took the true teachings of Christ and manipulated them to a degree intentionally. So this is why I say not everything the way it is written in the Bible and in Scripture was truth. This is why you need to use your discernment feature. with this, your heart, to be able to discern how to correctly perspect things.
She says her question wasn't about the gender of God, it was about the apparent claim of channeling. By the way, I didn't say it was yours, Patricia. I just know that people, he's saying father, and a lot of people are saying God is mother. And so I was just, getting his interpretation of the difference between the two.
Yeah, let me say my communication with Father is not channeling, it is an actual conversation. I do channel at times other energetic entities, benevolent ones, when I need to. That is channeling. This is different. This is the open dialogue and connection to Creator in the conversation on how to oversee the entire ascension on the planet and to assure and guarantee the divine plan for the planet. So it's not channeling Father. It is speaking to Father the same as I'm speaking here with you, Jesse, having a conversation.
What does, do not worship any false idols mean to you?
Pardon?
What does do not worship any false idols mean to you?
Well, that is up to each one's individual perspective. But again, you go to the heart to know what is false and what is correct. And it does go a lot deeper in there with that. Again, what we look at, and everyone can identify with what Jesus taught. You are the temple to be connected straight to Creator. So you don't need to walk actually into a church, or you do not need to listen to another. You can collaborate with another, and that is great, but keep connected straight to Creator and know that you are a spark of that. Now there were false prophets, and again, recently, many more of them are being exposed and revealed for what they are. For in this time, the false prophets are obstacles that must come out of the way as well, that have led ones astray, so that everyone gets more in alignment to converge going forward. And it's all divinely assured.
So what exactly would a false prophet then be? Because if someone, learns a certain thing and in their heart they believe it and they're sharing that truth, that information, but it could not be in alignment with what collective is, but that person believes in their heart that that's what they should be speaking and saying, would that be a false prophet, or would that just be someone confused like everybody else?
And that's an excellent question, Jesse. And what occurs is there's different perspectives. And if we're go up to the highest perspective of what is really going on, it is quite a difference to the most accepted perspective here. So, having said this, again, each one knows in their heart, uh, it is revealed to them who is false and who is not. But I don't believe that fully answered your question.
What's your thoughts on people like wearing crosses and, kind of glorifying the crucifixion of Jesus?
My thoughts on that: it's beautiful to wear crosses, but again, Jesus didn't die. So if there's a Jesus on the cross, take that off and just wear the cross, because that's not what occurred.
Okay, that's good point. And when they say you shouldn't, have any images of God, or you shouldn't create images of God or for Jesus, but then yet we've got pictures of Jesus all around, is this stuff that they shouldn't be doing? Because, the book says there shouldn't be any. I believe, I'm not an expert at the Bible. I'm just learning it, as we go. But from what I'm aware is you're not supposed to make any, you're not supposed to make any pictures of of these, of God or of Jesus and stuff?
Well, for I, I'm for everything that benefits the individual. If someone wishes to have a picture of Jesus as a reminder to keep them on their way, that's what benefits them. So I don't wish to diminish anyone's belief. Everyone's beliefs are important. And where I am as an Ascension teacher as well, I put out, this is the way to do it. This is the way that I show. There are other ways, and it's each one's choice whether you follow the way or not, but you're not restricted to it.
What does ascension mean?
Ascension means the rapture, more or less. It is the upliftment of humanity. So the ascending. So when you look at Jesus as well in, let's say, the Bible, it was said that Jesus ascended, also Mother Mary, with this. So it's an ascension to another dimensional space. So you can perspect this different ways as well. But what is currently happening with this ascension, the body is being physically prepared to be able to sustain vibration in other dimensional realities as well. This is why it's depicted with the rapture, in some pictures that ones just go right up. This is what we're amidst right now. We're amidst that rapture, that upliftment, the great awakening and the expansion of the consciousness is the rapture that takes humanity into, the heaven on earth scenario, where the GPMS also is. You can say it's parallel because this is what's occurring with this part of the human experience.
So would that be when you say you're teaching ascension, you're teaching people to ascend to this higher level where their body and their physical meat suit can actually ascend and keep the meat suit, into this ascension process?
What it's happening, I'm not per se teaching the ascension. The ascension is happening by each soul's choice. I am teaching to assist them with what is going on, how to develop it quicker, and to have more of an understanding as their consciousness keeps incrementally um, uplifting into higher perspectives and releasing more of their divine knowledge to know what is actually occurring, which is done also, it is confirmed through them, through synchronicities or confirmations that they will visually see or experience as well. So part of the ascension is overriding the logical imprint, the logical mind, and opening up more to one's divine powers in the least. Jesse, I got to step out for one more moment, brother.
No worries.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Sounds good. I'm just going to read Patricia's comments here. She says the scripture is rather obviously about being a slave to the physical Maya rather than serving the spiritual, in my opinion. And yeah, lots of thoughts about the scripture there, Patricia. Money is the ultimate false idol, and it's what the world worships and what the sociopaths running it worship. Yeah, they dangle the golden carrot, that gets people to do things that they don't want to do in order to get more of that, fake paper money. This is why Islam forbids religious imagery. As Campbell said, your image of God becomes your ultimate obstacle to God. They're all limited depictions of the unlimited, thus inherently blasphemous. Yeah, good point there, Patricia. And, from, just talking to people and from what I've learned and been aware of, so, Jesus was here and he helped people free themselves from, the system of slavery that these Pharisees kept them indoctrinated, or kept them in slavery into. And so what Jesus did was he wanted to tell people to get out of the city, and to get out and to leave the city, to leave because it was all going to be destroyed. And then, he also helped teach people that they are healers, that they are creators, that they don't have to, go to church in order to have this direct connection to our Father, to the Spirit that is around us, because it's in everybody. Everybody's got that connection. As long as you, are open to it, then you can receive it. You can receive the messages. You can have direct communication like, Rick has, but you have to be open to that. And then that's what Jesus came here to do. And then what happened was this started to spread out, and all of a sudden so much people now were more into their own connection with Spirit instead of the church's indoctrination and connection. So then Nero had to adopt this, and he had to say, well, yes, I'm a Christian too. And that now they wrote this book where they took all these writings and teachings of Jesus, but then they put their own Roman slavery spin on the book. So that's why there's things in there that don't add up, where things like some children made fun of some old man, so God sent a bear to kill all the children. So that is like horseshit. Like, I can't agree with that. I don't align with that. My God would never ever send a bear to slaughter children because they made fun of somebody. So again, they put their little evil spin on the book. It talks a lot about Jesus and about what he did and things, but I believe that the book is not holy from beginning to end, especially how much they've changed now. Any thoughts on that, Rick?
Yeah, I heard a little bit. No, I loved what you were saying, and I fully agreed with everything you were saying there, Jesse. And again, as you said, just you don't need anyone or anything else. Just connect straight to Creator, and that is, the simplest way to do it. What I will add is, you know, with this, because we're transcending another dimensional space, it is important to let go of all of the fear and to trust fully. So have no fear and replace that with trust in yourself and your connection to Creator, because it is the fear that keeps one in the lower density. And one of the old cliches or old sayings, fear blinds, and that is very true. So just replace that with as much trust going forward. Know that there is a divine plan occurring upon the planet. It is very real. It's been written about, and have full trust. But you're also responsible to stand in your own power. Do not give away your consent, and do not do anything that does not feel right in your heart.
Elaine says here, so how do you know how far I am in the ascension process? How would she know?
This depends upon the individual, Elaine, and there can be evaluation. When I work with one, sometimes we'll evaluate where they're at. Let's just say in the ascension process, what's happening is, as I said, 6 billion human souls are ascending, but there's so many levels now. Let's say a few 5, 7 linear years ago, there was like 1 or 2 levels, but everything has sped up now. So you have many levels, and everyone, for the most part, is all over the board. So it depends upon the individual where they're at. One thing we can say is your complete trust in God. God is very real. Maintain that trust over everything, and that does uh, excel you forward in your process.
When your meat suit here, comes to its expiration date and you pass on, does everyone ascend at that time?
I didn't hear the first part of that, Jesse.
When you pass on your meat suit, when your body dies here, when someone dies, does everyone ascend? Is that, that point of what happens? Does everybody ascend at that time?
The best way to look at it, what's occurring with this experience upon the planet, is that it's unprecedented, meaning that there are ones that are not going to go through a death process as well. There are those that go through a death process. The soul exists for all time, uh, for everyone that is a human soul, meaning that you may leave one possibility is, or one possibility is that you could leave a meat suit behind here in this dimension, but in the blink of an eye, just be in another reality with another meat suit, if you will. So in reality, no one ever dies. Death is put here as part of the illusion to keep the old human experience intact without knowing the full truth and, if you will, the way out.
Uh, they've said and they've put fear into the matrix that people that are being injected lose their connection with source. That once you've injected this mRNA, it starts changing your DNA. These military psychopaths, they didn't want, religious extremism, so they figured out a way how to cut people off from the God gene and to sever that connection. So, any thoughts on that? And could that actually happen? And what happens to the people that do, physically die here if they have had that, connection severed?
Okay, let me say this, that if one is vaccinated and they are a human soul, which is said there's only about 6 billion upon the planet are actual human souls, if one of those are vaccinated, they don't lose their soul. There is no such thing. Your soul exists for all times. But what can happen, as you said, Jesse, your meat suit, you may need to ascend through the death process, which would be different. But at a soul level, one should consider that each soul has what you can call a soul contract, whether you are going to die a physical death or you're going to take your physical body forward. So it depends on an individual soul basis what occurs with that. However, what I do need to say, even before the vaccines began to be put out, Father's instruction was clear for I, as a teacher, to strongly suggest no one get any vaccines because it is very important. Now, during the ascension process, it depends where one is at with their crystalline process, meaning that it is possible that if someone was advanced in their process quite a bit and did get vaccinated, they may be able to overcome it themselves. Now, for one that has just begun their crystalline process and didn't know and was vaccinated, it can hinder them from going forward, where they'd have to go through several years of a regeneration with their physical body and a detoxing program. So it can hinder, and this is why it was given by Father to suggest for no one to have any vaccines. It's also why it's been so important in the awakened community to pay attention to not be putting chemicals in your physical vessel, in your temple. You had to take care of it to be prepared for this ascension, this rapture process where you're taking the physical vessel forward into the miraculous multi-dimensional experiences.
So do you think even if someone was, far in the ascension process and they were kind of pressured into getting 1, 2, and even the booster, could they possibly detox all of that out of them?
What I wish to say, someone far along in the ascension crystalline process, they are awake in their consciousness. They would never take the vaccine. They could never be pressured in it because once they're far along, uh, they know what is going on and they have complete trust with Creator, and many of them already know their divinity, what they are, and they know the truth about what it is, so they don't succumb to that.
What happens to someone that takes their own life here, that decides that they can't take it and they end it themselves?
And an excellent question. What I know, ones in the past could attest to, that there are ones that, no matter if you try, it doesn't work. You cannot go if you're supposed to be here. So, having said this, there would be very few suicides that was divinely approved. And this runs a lot deeper. And what I wish to share, there was one I had to assist and guide just through one conversation several years ago. And Jesse, he tried to commit suicide 15 times. And he said, Rick, he just met me, and he said, Rick, I had to tell you this. He said, I don't know why, but I know I have to tell you my story. But he said each time he tried to commit suicide, he got smarter and smarter and took more prevention so it wouldn't be thwarted. But the last time he got a house in the middle, an abandoned house in the middle of a field, way in the woods somewhere, put locks on all of the doors. And to cut a long story short, just when he began to asphyxiate, the door opened up, big beam of light, huge guy come in, took the noose off his head, left him laying on the floor, and walked out. And he said he got it that he's not allowed to commit suicide, but with him, the instruction from Father, what I gave to him, I said, because you're here to assist the young people, with addictions and depression. And he said, oh, yeah. He said, just a week ago, I signed up to be a speaker at Alcoholic Anonymous into helping the youth. I said, there you go. It's already begun. You're on your path. Good. But that's a story where you cannot, or an example where, yeah, you're supposed to stay here. And there's so many of us that you're not allowed to leave, if you will, until the mission is done. Then you can make these choices very shortly.
I love that, and that just proves an example about the spirits and the angels and things that are around that most people can't see or hear. And they say we only see about 10% out our eyes what's actually around us. The other 90%, only certain people can have access to. That's why animals, you'll see a cat, they'll all of a sudden they'll start looking and they can see things floating through the air, and there's these spirits, or they know they can see things which we can't actually see. We might be able to feel a cold chill down our back, or we might be able to feel, but for most people have been taught, when you feel that chill, it's something negative, it's the darkness, you're supposed to fear it. And you're not supposed to fear, because spirit and source is all around here to protect us, not for us to be afraid.
Let me say, I wish to take this opportunity. Ones were thinking, as you said, when the cold come in, they would say it's a darkness. Actually, no, that is pure light. Angelics is cold, as you know. And one of the common things with many these days is that when they get a confirmation someone's telling something truth, they will become cold. That is their confirmation. They'll say, oh, I got shivers, and so it's showing you that also was a misconception or part of the trickery to get ones to actually be afraid of the angelics too. Now, with your eyes, as you're saying with the cats, during this ascension, everyone's eyes are also being upgraded and changed to be able to see multi-dimensionally. So yes, the cats, they're masters at that. They can see things, but now more and more um, ascending ones in the human form are able to see more with their eyes. For example, uh, all of your life you mightn't have been able to see a fairy, but all of a sudden, poof, then you're actually able to visually see them because the eyes are changing as well.
People that have gone through severe abuse, sexual abuse, they've been able to check themselves out of this dimension and open themselves up to the spirit world, and they're more prone to be able to see these fairies and these other spirits and these other entities, because in order for them to protect themselves from their physical body being harmed, they were opened up to the spirit realm, which was able to protect them and actually be able to manage whatever horrendous things that were happening to them.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, I have conversed and met ones that actually did that. Yeah, under that severe trauma, they left their bodies, as you said. Yeah, but then come back into the bodies, and during that they come back with gifts. And this is the same premise as with the NDAs, the near death experiences. They come back also with higher gifts, but it's divinely by the soul. It's divinely written as well as a way to uh, let's say empower themselves more and to bring the gifts in as a whole for what it does to humanity as well, to show what is actually real. And you'll see more of that.
Yeah, I had an NDA where I got stabbed 12 times protecting a girl from a bunch of gangsters that were trying to pimp her out. And I saw my body lifeless on the table as I floated away, and I got smaller and smaller. I saw all the doctors and nurses around me, but I ended up floating away, and for whatever reason, I came back, and I don't have any, recollection of what had happened after I saw my body on the table. And the next day I woke up, and the first thing I said is, I need a smoke. And the nurse was like, I got this chest tube in me because one of the stab wounds punctured my lung. And I had this chest tube in me, and she's like, "Oh no, you got a chest tube in you, can't smoke." And and I said, "Lady, I said, you know what happened to me? If you knew what it just went through, you know that a smoke isn't gonna kill me." So she said, "Well, if you want to smoke, you're gonna have to do it yourself. I'm not gonna assist you." So there I got up and grabbed my little post with the little wheels, and I got myself, and I went and had a smoke. And what you were talking about before about people not being able to expire, when kill themselves, before their time, and they've got a purpose here. When we were doing the High Vibe Love Tribe, where we got together every single day for from 1 to 3 hours a day, while the pandemic first started. We danced, we did Tibetan singing bowls, we did healing frequencies, we did healing runes, and just a nice safe place for people to stay away from all the fear agenda. We did that every day for 11 straight months. One guy from Australia started coming there, and he reached out to me, and he said, he was in a bad place, and he tried to take his own life, and he said he went to a cliff, and as he went to the cliff, he jumped, and something grabbed him and pulled him back off of the cliff. And and right away he knew that he wasn't meant to leave. Like, so exactly to the point of what you just said, that that you're not allowed to go until you're allowed to go. And no matter what you do, if you do go and you do take your life, then your contract has been fulfilled, and you were no longer necessarily needed here. So that totally makes sense.
Yeah, and it's divinely assured as well. Yeah, and but more so, that was also written in a soul contract, so that he would be a witness to that and to be able to share that important story. So there are always divine reasons why everything occurs. The same as you with your story as well. Everyone with their stories. It's divine importance.
Yeah, so Patricia says, as you recall, Jesus overturning the tables of the money changers in the temple. Not a big fan of money.
And Patricia, with GPMS, that's actually what occurred. We're flipping the tables on the money makers and giving it all to humanity. So we're making money good. Yeah. So this is what we're doing.
Old Testament a-hole Yahweh has been suspected of some to be Anunnaki Enil and not a friend of humanity. What's your thoughts on the Anunnaki?
What I don't even entertain that. If one wishes to keep those beliefs, those are what I would call disempowering and restrictive beliefs that the evil actually interjected to suppress and keep one's disempowered, by saying, oh, the Anunnaki or whatever. Uh, I got to be afraid of them. They're more stronger than I. So it was a trick to try to interject them to keep one's separated from their true and powerful connection to Creator. So with anything with Anunnaki and what have you, it's no, I don't even entertain it because you also need to be very meticulous with your beliefs as well. And if you start believing a lot of these other little things, you can get distracted from your path. And that's what these other lesser beliefs are put there by the darkness to do that, to keep you from rising. So everyone just needs to be wise and say, I trust my connection to Creator. This is the way, and you keep following that.
Yeah, all these books and stories and different things were put into our paradigm by people that wanted to control us and confuse us and divide us. And so there's so much chaos and confusion in this story. This happened. Any thoughts on Nibiru and this planet that's supposed to come every 26,000 years that's starting to come close to Earth right now? So what some people are saying?
My thoughts are on that. It's not going to occur for us. We're going forward. So, no, no, I don't. No, I don't.
Okay, Yeshua ben Yosef, Jesus, Sananda was against religion. Yeah, organized anything to do with our connection and organized. You have to pay me for is
What is religion, though? Really, it's a belief system. So when you look at anything that you do, it is actually a religion. So each one just chooses with it.
Lane says, thank you, Rick. Have to go. We're going to be wrapping up here very
Yeah.
shortly. Last comment here is disrupting the function of the pineal gland is particular may have a negative effect on one's ability to perceive beyond the physical. Dr. Joseph Spenza series Rewired on Gaia addresses this. What's your thoughts on them calcifying the pineal gland and
Oh, definitely. That's why, for the most part, and what I taught and what others put out there, the importance of not having fluoride, chlorine, and a lot of other things in there so that the pineal gland does open up. So it's what each one is guided to do to assure that that does. But I also wish to say that it is also divinely timed for ones as well.
what's
But
your thoughts on the seven chakras and the energy points, the different points in the body? Some people try to tell you that it's not real. Some people try to tell you it's, evil to access. Some people, really believe wholeheartedly in our different energy points that have, these firm connections to the outside world.
yeah, these are all very real, very important um, energetic centers. They are connected to the light body. They are connected to the Merkaba, to the Ascension. They do serve a very important function. Also, what you need to add to the seven chakra systems is all of your um, secondary and tertiary meridian centers, your crystalline nodules. Chinese call them meridians, I believe, and all of the nodules along those. Those are all important nervous and energetic systems that are connected directly to your empathic abilities, and everyone able to feel energy. So they're all very real and definitely very important and definitely divine.
What's your thoughts on yoga?
Yoga's great for those that take it. I took it twice, and it was funny. And the first time I took it, I got into a pose, and it was something with my knee. I forget the pose, what it was called, but whoa! All of a sudden, it started opening up the other channels that I usually keep just in connection with Father. But when I need to open other channels, I do open them. But what was funny, I opened up three different channels by doing some yoga. So I said, yeah, this really works. But it created a bunch of chatter because you open these channels. But even with Gaia that day, with Mother aspect, Mother Earth, if you will, uh, come in. Whoa, she said it was just a 5.2 earthquake in San Francisco, California. So as soon as I heard that, I had told the divine feminine that I was with, so she could be a witness for it. And yeah, we looked up on the phone shortly after, and yes, there was. And just to accreditate that the channel is real and authentic with I. So yoga very beneficial to the body, yes, for those that it agrees with.
And the last question I have is our own manifestation abilities. We're born in the Father's image. As creators, as manifestors, we can actually manifest things. What's your thoughts on that? And what kind of advice can you give anybody listening about being able to manifest, the reality that they want to have happen here?
Yeah, with this, we are the way I wish to look at the presence, environment, scenario upon the planet you are in. You're to look at yourself as a co creator. Yes, you are a creator as well, but what you see is that you're connected in this reality to all of the other co creators. So, what you're showing in the beginning with your creator abilities is the abilities to manifest little things. But you were showing this as part of your process to allow you to confirm to yourself that it was real and that you can actually do it yourself. But what occurs, and especially in this time, you were showing you have that divine ability for another important reason, because you're meant to come all together to create the unity, to create the one thing. So when you have the collective thoughts all in one place, then it creates that full reality for everyone that is aligned with it once you have enough. So your manifestation abilities is instrumental for this very time. It did not occur by chance again. It's been all divinely timed, and you will, most of you are, you've been prepared and learn it in different ways, how to refine your technique, how to purify it as well, to be prepared for the future times. So
It seems like a lot of people's fears get manifested for them to maybe overcome them, because when they're really, worried about things, things end up happening to they've projected, they've tested to test those fears.
and you said the totally correct word. It's the test. So the soul will show them, yeah, hey, you've got to stop having fears because you're creating that reality. And yes, you will, and that's part of the test. So then, in the process, and they'll say, okay, So then I got to keep positive, focus on the good things, and then they see how that's reflected in their reality. But the whole time, it's strengthening and honing, sharpening their creator skills again for what's to come. So then they are able, once they're conscientious, to know that they are actually affecting and influencing their reality proportionately. Then they also know as a collective how you change realities by coming together. So you're taught individually, and then you are united, if you will, with your tribe and the entire collective.
So people, I do have one more question. So, what was Jesus's name? People call him Yeshua, Jesus, Yeshua ben Yosef, Yeshua Hamashish. I've heard so much different names. 2,000 years ago, what was Jesus' name?
That's an excellent question. With that, I identify with Jesus.
Jesus sounds good, brother. What's your last thoughts, which you can leave people with on GPMS World, and what they should be doing to help GPMS World, become a reality?
Thank you. What I strongly suggest is for to register or join whatever terminology you wish to use. GPMS. No one hesitate. The quicker we get the voice, the quicker we change this reality. Everyone knows how tense it is getting out there, and violence has already begun to occur. So, what we wish to do to limit the chaos, it's better just to unite everyone now, and it's a smoother transition. And what I strongly suggest to become a member, and also remember your child's voice counts in this, even if they're 1 second old. And the quicker we get this voice big enough, then nothing can stand against it for what it is, and then we can implement it.
So does that mean if you're listening and you have children, you sign up for you, but you sign up for them as well? Each person needs to sign this as long as they have breath of life here on earth, then they can register as another voice in the collective for GPMS?
Exactly. Everyone has a vote. Every child's vote, if you will, support counts. And uh, any parent is a guardian, and they are to take care of their children so they also can speak for them. This is also for the children in this now, and also to secure the future generations. So it's done now, and rightfully so. Every child has a voice that counts in creating this voice as well. They're not to be left out.
Can someone sign for someone else? Like, if I sign up for my mom as like a voice if she had her full capacity? Is that something that she has to do herself? Or, if I have 10 people that I know that I want to put in this, I talk to them a little bit about it, and can I sign up for them? Or does it have to be each person has to sign up themselves?
No, well, we wish each person to sign up themselves, except for the children, the parents can. But if they have the full capacity to sign themselves, yes. But let's say if your mom's unable to sign, then yeah, what they used to call power of attorney or something similar. Yeah, you can, say, hey, I'm signing for my mom, but I have her consent. Yeah.
Same thing as if someone was, say, handicapped, or, say they couldn't, fully comprehend, if you as their guardian or as their, person, you could actually sign up for them as well.
Yeah, if they agreed, I would say, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for spending this time. I know it's pretty late out there. It's probably after midnight, I think.
Yeah, and we were actually, Femke was attending a drumming circle here as well, as you were saying. So they were community, so it's a beautiful place. Yeah, but
Okay,
it's
awesome. Well, we appreciate, your energy. We appreciate what you're doing for humanity. We appreciate you being here. appreciate what you've all done for humanity throughout time, and we just continue on this journey until we win this war, whatever it is that we're in, because we won't stop until we've taken back our lives, and and be able to finally live free here in a utopic type of place like it's meant to be here.
And that's what everything is happening for, and this is why we're all here. And it is divinely guaranteed and assured, but each one needs to make the choice. So,
Linda asks, to whom or what are these votes, autographs to be submitted, presented to?
they're counted as one voice, so it's not really they're submitted. It's we need to create the voice. This is what changes everything. So it's not that they need to be submitted, it is the tally of the amount of voice that we need to create. It's that number, the tally, that does it. For example, you've got a 2 billion worldwide voice. Nothing can stand against anything that big upon the planet. It has authority. You're creating the authority of the people, but you're doing it as combining all of the people together.
Okay, awesome. Appreciate your time. Thanks for being a part of the Missing Link. Again, thanks to you and Lee for sharing this information. Tomorrow we've got 3 missing links. We start off with Hillis Pugh at 4 p.m. Eastern. Then we got Hearing Crystal Clear at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then we got Andreas Moreno from the Galactic Federation at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for all your likes and shares. We're been kind of suspended off our other YouTube account. We've been suspended off of our Facebook account. So we look for your shares and likes and supports just to get this message out there, because it's an important message, and we're doing the best we can just to get our message out to as many people as we can. So thank you very much. Thanks to all of you sending blessings for one love, one heart, one life. Namaste, brother.
Thank you, Jesse. Much gratitude. Love and light. Bye now.